into. So I just think it's good to keep, and we should be live now, but I think it's good to keep consistent content up when it comes to updating training and stuff like that. Okay, so we're good. So getting back into it, what we were talking about was what we have coming up. Obviously, paintball next week. That's the 9th. In case anybody isn't aware of that, everybody should be at this point. The big thing that we have coming up that came up on a meeting last week. The idea we had a meeting and it was a lot of participation, which was great. I went through some different training points, which was awesome. And coming out of that, I was thinking, it would be a good idea if we had something that wasn't ran by, myself, that involved maybe more canvassers and stuff like that. But after asking for volunteers, now in all fairness, it was mostly managers. I think it was all managers that were on that first meeting. When I sent out the invitation, Corey, Tony, and Seth all said, yeah, I'd like to be part of that, whatever. And I think that's great. And I hope that makes it so that some canvassers will feel comfortable making those videos as well. So the premise is talking to them, and I'm trying not to get involved very much at all, is they each sort of have 20 minutes to go through their thing. And what I explained was probably a good idea, but it is up to them, is that if they pick one kind of script thing, something to go over in scripting, whether that's rebuttals or whatever it is. What's up, Nick? How you doing? Cold called you, I'm assuming? Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Whether it's going over some sort of rebuttals or going over window problems or something like that, plus one thing that's a little bit more fun, that's maybe outside of the script and whatnot, and that's probably the best format. So I don't know, Andrew, what do you think about that idea, and what what we can do with that?
No, I mean, I think it's always good to be able to kind of share your own experience when you're actually out there in the field, to kind of see what works, what doesn't. I think my biggest fear when it comes to that is just you just have to be able to hold each other accountable. You can't just say yes to every single thing that gets thrown across your desk, right? So if something works, okay, great. There needs to be some type of like factual evidence to show, okay, this is what it is. This is how it works. This is how I can show you that it works. And then if something doesn't, you need to be open to that criticism. Like, okay, this is what I've been saying. And then if you think that if it doesn't work, then to be open, honest about it, and have a thoughtful response to that. And as long as everybody can keep that understanding, then yeah, I think it actually be super helpful. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff even now today. I've been here for 5 years, and there's some things that like somebody that's been out on the road for like 3 weeks, and I hear how they explain something. I'm like, oh, that's a really great way to explain it. I've never even thought of it like that. But
well, lucky it's going to be recorded too, so we'll be able to.
Right, exactly. But it's just you never stop learning, and I think this is a great way to kind of share our experiences with one another, to kind of see and get a better understanding of what works, why does it work, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, agreed. No, I think we'll be good, and I think that letting people sort of have a voice too. The other day on this channel, I did that interview with Cameron Goss, and I do got to change the clip for that, the little, what do they call that? What do they call a little picture? Thumbnail. I do to change the thumbnail, because if you look at it, it's really ridiculous. Have you seen
it? Yeah.
It's crazy. I actually think I screenshot it.
Soft white underbelly.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, look at
that. Ready for his post? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got it. It's soft white underbelly Tourette's version, because he's like this. But I will change that eventually too. So I do got to hyperlink everything on it too. It's a lot of work. But the second thing is sort of stemming from that. The other day I was on a call with Tony Hody, and we were talking, and I had asked him one of the things that I was most interested in. We were talking about reformatting teams and what that looks like and what that means and all this stuff. And I had asked him, like, what's important when it comes to reformatting this or whatever, what's important when it comes to finding the right people or whatever. And he said to me, and I thought it was really good. He said, you have to have a set of, company core values, but you also have to have a set of department core values, and you have to have a department mission statement. And people need to know it. They need to know and understand what it means. And I think because, when you work in a company or corporation, you can go look up, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, let me see if there's some dirty company out there. Give me an example of it, just a dirty company. Nestle. Nestle's a pretty dirty company. Nestle mission statement. Okay. Good food, good life. Nestle's mission statement is good food, good life. Following the mission statement, Nestle aims to provide its customers with nutritious food choices, with a great tasting experience and eating occasions, offering the brand's food and beverages. Now, like if we look at a list of their products, right? And they're obviously famous for their chocolate. They're also famous for like destroying the world's water structure as well, because they've taken over so much water. And I don't want to make a political statement against Nestle or whatever. That's not my point. My point is just that they depart greatly from their mission statement, cookie dough. So like one of their biggest products is cookie dough, right? Good food, good life, or whatever it says. I mean, come on. After an outbreak of E. coli was linked to Nestle's refrigerated cookie dough, originating in a plant in Danville, Virginia. In the U.S., it caused sickness for more than 50 people in 30 states, half of whom were requiring hospitalization. Following the outbreak, they did voluntarily recall 30 cases of 30,000 cases of cookie dough. It was contaminated flour from the raw material supplier. So I mean, there's a bunch of different other, Maggie noodles, and there's a Maggie or Maggie, I don't know. It's Nestle India's thing. Had up to 17 times more than the permissible safe amount of lead in it. Okay, that's in 2015, right? So a stiff departure from good food, good life, right? And so that's the thing, is that corporation mission statements often, at least for me, the way I view them is they're kind of BS in a lot of cases, right? I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I would have to agree. I'd have to agree.
And so I think naturally when we look at in our company, I think is fine when it comes to our core values and stuff like that. I don't think that we depart from our core values or anything, but I also think that, and I don't know, maybe this is dangerous to say, but one of them is like, one of the ones from the old, the renewable energy I used to work at was inject a little bit of weirdness into every day, which all right. Right. I mean, like, how uncomfortable it was to tell people that, so it's almost like you have to, our one now that's where is that? You don't have to be crazy to work here, but it helps. I feel uncomfortable every time I say it, right? So I think that it's having a comfortable set of core values department wide is that. So the next thing that we have to do, and having a mission statement that involves getting leads and demos, maybe quality leads and demos, over like our job is not to save little puppy dogs and stuff like that. So I mean, we just got to be clear on our mission statement. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think it's in order to do a job and to do it well, you first need to kind of define what it is. And once you have a good understanding of what that is, then you can get work, and I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah. So I think that, and I think also too, you look at the elements of our department and how it works. There's plenty of different little things that we've talked about, like lifting each other up, for example. Not being negative. Giving honest feedback, stuff like that, right? There's so many different little things that we can include in some sort of mission statement or core values. So if you're watching this, after the fact or now, then that it would be great for you to give some ideas, to have the opportunity to put input information for that stuff, because I do think it's something that we have to, hire and fire based on it. And so we got to be mindful of that. What do you think?
No, absolutely. For sure.
So the next sort of stage of our department, right, is here's where my mindset is, Andrew. You could tell me where yours is. My mindset is we went from a company, I mean, a department, right? So whenever I started here in this office, the idea was we've only ever done, 4 million in sales in canvas, or whatever it was, 2 million, whatever. Let's get to 6 and let's get to 10. And I remember when I said, maybe we can get to 12, people were like, oh my, you're crazy. Yeah, we'll see, dude. And, we will probably hit around 40 million or so this year. So when we're looking at that, as a goal and whatnot, we've now transcended department and turned into a company, I think, ourselves in a lot of ways. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
So I think that we need to start operating as such, by defining sort of what it means to work in our company, within this other company. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And again, I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Obviously, we still work for the company. We're not like going rogue or not like that. And like, oh no, yeah, we're just, we're not like pirates and nothing like that. But it's in the way that you look at it. I think it's a mindset thing. A department to me is less accountable. There's less, there's just less, I don't want to say seriousness to it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from, especially, dude, like, I feel like we just had this conversation the other day too. I think when I was driving back home from work and I was on the phone with you and I was talking about like, just remember how things used to be just when I started here 5 years ago, and like how far we've come, how everything is. And with the training, like how much more serious things have become, how much better we've become, everything.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we've matured the department in every way, no doubt. And a lot of that has to do with people that, work here. Leadership is important, but internal leadership is very important too. So right now for Central, we're at $12,909,543 in sales. And this is as of, July 1st. So we have a lot of year left to go. That we're halfway through the year, I guess officially now. In just West, we're at $3,656,704 in sales. Let me just kind of add this up as we go. So the first one was what, 12.9. The second one is basically 3.7. And then the if you add in Williamsport there, you're at 2.7, 4.5, so 2.750. So we're at 19,350,000. So when you look at the different trends and you predict where we're going to go and whatnot, remember that, with a slowdown, that can account for another probably 3 to 4 million in sales minimum. It does account for that minimum over the course of 2 months. In addition, now that we're not in that, and we sort of can go balls to the wall, I guess the best way to put it, we will make up that difference in the back end. So we're at 19,350,000 right now. We should end the year at between 40 and 50 million. Just in our department, And so you start to look at that and you start to go, okay, well, things are going to start to get stretched and spread more thin as we grow, obviously. And we need to accommodate for that. We need to make things easier. Personal growth needs to be easier. Positions need to open up. There needs to be a lot more done to manage that amount of income, because it's detrimental to the company, especially with the economy, the way that it's moving. Right. What do you think?
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we need, all hands on deck, man. That's the whole part of growth. And like you said, I mean, if you're doing that much, if there's that much money being made or whatever, you spread yourself too thin. That's where you find yourself in kind of like hot water, where things they don't run as well as they do. And then when that happens, man, it's just like a stagnation at best, and then a collapse at worst. So it needs to evolve just as much.
Yeah, we are looking at, let's see, we're at, probably roughly 50, canvassers. If we want to get up to 100, then we need to evolve greatly. The other thing that needs to evolve too is recruiting. So the next thing I'd say is that Referrals are something that we're going to have to start relying on more. We were able to get it done with installers, and I know there was a big focus on that. We spent entire days doing that. In addition, there were referral bonuses. Here's what I'll say to everybody that could be watching this that is like, well, yeah, it was, X amount of dollars for installers. It's Y amount of dollars for canvassers. It's so much easier for you to find canvassers than it is to find installers. And so you could go out one day and find 10 or 20 canvassers. I'm not saying like that all will be hired or whatever, but you can in a day realistically get 5 or 10 of them hired and be able to make referral bonus off of that. And it'll end up being more lucrative for you in the end than installers. And so as we start to grow, that's something that's going to need to become a focus because it has not been so far. What are your thoughts on that, Andrew? And what have you found is the most creative way, whether it's you that's done it or people on your team, to be able to find referrals?
So, number one, I 100% agree with you. I think, and a lot of times too, I think a lot of those people that you can bring in, especially if you know them somehow. I mean, it doesn't have to be your best friend, right? But like, if there's some type of like, their acquaintance, somebody that you know of, and a lot of times those individuals that come in, they have a vested interest in doing well. They want to be able to work with you. They already know somebody coming into the company. They already feel more comfortable. They already have a good understanding of, how things work, what we're looking for, so on and so forth. So when they come in and I would love to sit down, they're already at a much better advantage than individuals that are just randomly looking for jobs, put an application in on Indeed and then we reach out, right? So that's number one. Number two, I think in terms of like just what has worked, what I've done, other people on the team. So it's like a multi-pronged approach. That's the benefit of living in a modern day where you have a ton of stuff at your disposal. So like, if you've lived in PA your whole life, like that's my disadvantage, right? So all my friends on my Facebook or on my Instagram or TikTok, whatever, those are people that I grew up with in like New York or New Jersey, whatever. But you're living here, you've been here for a while, you probably know of some individuals or they know of some individuals that know of another individual, whatever. So social media is a great place to kind of get a word out, right? Then from there, you can leave that. And that's a kind of just passively generating people. Now, is that going to work like the first time you do it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But if you keep up with it, I guarantee that you're going to get people generate some type of interest, right? Especially now, man, everybody's looking for something different, something new where they can make money, get ahead of the curve, get some savings, so on and so forth. And so you have a great just recruiting tool in the fact that, hey, you want to work in an environment with a great culture, make a shit ton of money, have the opportunity for growth. That's literally what everybody wants, right? So that's number one. Number two, that's passively generating people as long as you keep up with it. And then on your daily commute, I mean, think about how many places that we go throughout the week, whether we're at work or at home, whatever, when you're stopping at Sheets or going to the mall to go pick up something, whatever, you're passing
knocking doors. Yeah.
Right. Knocking door. You're literally passing hundreds and talking to hundreds of people per week that either themselves are looking for something different and new or know of somebody that's looking for something different, something new, something that they can make some money and have the opportunity for growth. So it's literally the entire your entire life is the opportunity to get the word out and yourself, generate more income because of the fact of the referral bonus and how much easier it is to recruit for this specific position rather than like install or something like that.
Yeah, well, and I feel you on not being from around here. Not just that, most of the people on my Facebook are dead, but the memorial pages, you can't recruit from memorial pages very often. Sorry, that's a dark joke, but it's true. This is I can always tell my interface whether or not I've crossed the threshold here. What do they call that?
The Overton window.
Yes, the Overton window. Yeah, and I think I've reached that. But I mean, when you look at some of the best people that we have here right now, currently, you take Devin as an example and Julie as an example, right? Devin knows the son of a sales rep. That sales rep goes, "Hey, this is a great opportunity for you to be able to grow." He comes in. He's instantly more eager because he has a better line of sight to the company. He understands that, hey, this is a good place to work. It doesn't take faith. It doesn't take a leap of faith. He knows that, this is what he wants to do. And he has a path for growth as well. So he does that. And there's a referral bonus paid out on it. And, now in this case, Jason gets to work with someone that he knows, someone that he's familiar with. Julie got recommended by a sales rep because he was out selling windows to her and her boyfriend at their house. And so she, again, she sees the process, she sees what she can do. And so she joins, and the two of them are some of the best people that we have. And there's countless other ones too working for us currently, but and they don't have to be good guys. That's the other thing too, is like, there's some that just don't work out, and that's not your fault. This is, no one is going to go back to you and go, oh man, remember that guy that you referred? Like, that's messed up. Why'd you do that? That guy was an idiot. You know what I'm saying? No one's going to do that. And so it's worth, well, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm just kidding. I don't think anybody will do that. But no one's going to seriously mess with you. It's not your fault. You can't determine what people do. Go out there, Facebook groups that you're a part of too. You're a part of some, from a yard sale group to an LGBTQ group or whatever. Any of these groups are good to recruit from. I was at art festival, right? And there was a guy who I met who was, he was an artist, but he did that part-time. He was, looking for work, had just moved to the area. That guy, I got his name and number. I don't think it ever worked out. Either way, you got to just go out and find the people. It makes sense. The owner of the company is constant looking for people. He brings me more referrals than anybody else, and he owns the company. You know what I'm saying? So you can definitely go out there and, meet these people and whatnot too. Start with the people that you know, and then extend from there, right? Now, getting into training. So next week we have a couple people starting and stuff like that too, but I do want both Andrew and myself to make it on the road next week at some point. So we're going to coordinate that and go out there for at least a day each. The biggest interest that I'm seeing is we sort of changed the way that we do training, and I think that it's effective. I think we can continue to evolve the training. What we talked about here recently, Andrew, is how can we train? Let me just pull it up. And I don't think I've really leveraged our ability here when it comes to this this document and finishing up doing the rebuttals and stuff like that as well. It's taxing, it takes a lot, but what I've seen from the people that we've had start more recently is that coming out of training, and I think it's twofold. So think about it. You took over the training in, let's say, February or March, somewhere in between there. I think it was February. And in that time, you were able to extend the hours, focus a lot on role play so that people had the script down more coming out of training. They had more of the rebuttals down and stuff like that. I think the next natural place to go for that is in training people on how to deal with customers better, on how to deal with the rejection, how to understand the rejection. And we've started to do this by going through things like the script study guide. I think if we perfect that system, then it will have a great impact on the way that new people come out of training and how prepared they are to deal with everything that they're going to see when they're on the road. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Everything is kind of like a balancing and juggling game. You're trying to figure out, all right, what do we need to get down? How much time do we have to get that down? And you're also balancing like every week, right? Maybe I have a couple of individuals that are very quick memorizers, right? They memorize certain things very, relatively quickly, whereas maybe somebody else, it takes a little bit of time. So, you always have these things you're trying to work with. But finding, and it's not just finding, but making the time really, and that's what I've noticed is that at the end of the day, regardless of what happens or what doesn't happen, there's always time that you can carve out to do these things. And so what we've been trying to do, more, at least I've been trying to get a little bit more effective and efficient with it, is find and making that time so that we're not just role playing, right? But it's with a backdrop of like okay, you're essentially, this is your neighborhood. I'm going to show you, a couple of pictures. These pictures are going to, of X, Y, and Z type of window. So these are the issues that are going on right now. Your job to pick out those problems, and then we're going to start the role play. But then emotional intelligence is a big part of that. So like, I'm deliberately making it a little bit more difficult for them now. That way, by the time they get out on Monday, it's a lot. They're pretty much used to it, right? And with all that being said, the study guide that comes with the script, there's a lot of extra information that speaks to not just like a very scripted way of doing things, but like, okay, what can and cannot be adapted, right? Or if you're going to get into this rebuttal, maybe this rebuttal is meant to be a little bit more informal, right? So more of like the nuances that come with our pitches, rather than just like, okay, this is a script, piece of paper, verbatim, this is the way we do it. And, once you get out on the road, then maybe you'll be able to figure out how to kind of adapt it and personalize it in your way, to each and every single customer that you meet. No, we're doing a lot more of that, like personalization in the classroom, so to speak. That way, by the time they get out there, they know what to expect, right? They're fully aware what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what can be adapted, what can't be adapted. It's actually, when you think about it, it's far more specific, and gives a ton more information and leaves far less up to interpretation, actually. So I think it's actually far better.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that it does leave less. It opens up doors in terms of the way that we speak to customers and stuff like that. But in doing that, it does close off in a good way opportunity to change things that really should not be changed. And I think the next step is the first step that we need to take is testing and seeing how this is going and stuff like that. And then it's about innovating how we teach. Do we give a lot more examples of role play? Maybe day one we give them a video to watch of a lot of role plays being done, or maybe that's day 4. Whatever. There's different things that we can do to spur a different conversation to make it even better than it is. And so we'll continue to focus on that development as we go forward too. Now, part of this script training guide and whatnot, and making the changes is and how we deal with the customers' personalities. What I've heard a lot from people on the road is that they have difficulty with this kind of customer or that kind of customer. And so what we've been focusing on a lot is, and if you see the last training video or the training video before that, I think it is expanding the customer base. How do you reach more people? And so, part of this is a balancing act between, having people understand that everyone is their customer to an extent, right? So there's you don't got to cut yourself off from one kind of customer to get another kind of customer. Everyone is your customer, and everyone can be rebutted, right? Now, having Wisconsin down to visit, that's what I call Wisconsin. It makes it easier instead of me saying Seth and then people getting confused between Seth that works for us, Seth who's an install manager out north, and so on and so forth. So Wisconsin visiting, their script is much, much, much different. It does not focus at all on connecting with customers. Him and I had gone through a role play, and I'm not going to put his pitch out there on here, but we had gone through a role play. What's up? Do you need something? Okay, cool. All right, excellent. Where do you want the you can leave it there. That's fine. I'll take care of it. Can you put a note on the top just with whatever? Excellent. Thank you. So essentially, though, it goes like this. I'm just going to give you an example. And this is what you do not want to do this. I want to make it extremely clear, but I want to dissect why you don't want to do this. So just adding I wish I could put like a giant alert on the screen or something like that right now. This is not what you want to do. Okay. This is definitely not what you want to do. But Andrew, I'm going to have you play customer, and I'm going to try as hard as I can to, without playing the actual audio, show you what they're doing out there. Okay. Cool. I'll show you the audio after, don't worry. But but for this, I don't want to put his voice out there with this stuff on there. So knock, knock, knock.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Duffy. I'm with Renewal by Andersen. We were told that A lot of people were installing their windows out here. We had gotten a lot of calls in from the area about people having some problems with the windows and maybe needing replacement and whatnot. So we just wanted to come out to see if if maybe you were looking to get a free quote or something like that on the windows. And then there was like a pause at that point. But when I didn't respond to the pause, he kept going. So it was, something along the lines of, so we're giving out free quotes that are good for 1 full year. We also have some great promotions going on right now and whatnot that we'd love to be able to get in your hands. So with that being said, we'd love to have somebody come out and leave you with a free quote. Mornings or afternoons better, typically.
Yeah.
Give me an objection.
I'm not interested in doing anything with the windows right now.
Yeah, well, and I can imagine that, sir. There's I just want to point out that you had the vinyl windows here that were having some problems. It looked like there was starting to be some warping in the windows, and because of that, maybe there's some mold as well. And the windows, seemed like they were starting to have a lot of different problems. So it seemed like something that you might want to get. We're in the middle of making a train for you. What's going on? Oh, okay, cool. So I'm doing a pitch that's not our pitch. I'm just going to put that up. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. They canceled way late. Way late. Did they just call?
No, they canceled earlier, but I don't know if it's before more than that.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you very much. I don't know if that's something that you want to do, sir, or not, but we are going to be in the area giving out free quotes. Is that something that you might be interested in?
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I'm good.
And then that was where it. So that's for the most part it. And so what I explained to Wisconsin was like that you got to start over. I don't know where the script comes from, but you got to start over. It's not. There's no good parts to it. I hate to say that, right? I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I mean, just for the first time hearing it, there's nothing. There's literally nothing that I heard that would be beneficial, to someone who's actually saying the pitch.
Yeah, and so here was my thing. I said, listen, you're teaching people to do this, and then they're going out there and they're failing perpetually, and it's causing more and more problems. There's no way to get over the things that this script creates. So this script creates problems that are just unsurmountable. You can't change the issues that are coming up, right? But that's what other companies do. And so I just want to make that clear to everybody that people ask me, I've been asked more over the last couple of days than I ever have been. Do you guys have your separate scripting? You guys have a separate scripting? And we do largely. There is hints of it originates from a guy named David Yoho, who got a lot of the stuff in there and whatnot. But there was a lot of us that there's 9 total people or something like that came together to make scripting that looked the way it does now. And then we continue to make changes on it based on our experiences and what we see. And the scripting that I just went through, the idea of that scripting, they might not mean this, but the idea of it that I get from it is if I was to do that script, I would want to get all my objections in one spot. And I'm essentially making my script the rebuttals, right? So think about that. You said not interested, and I went through basically a version of our value to visit, right? But it wasn't part of the script. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have to do that. It was a rebuttal. So it's I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I think that I think that you're kind of steamrolling them because you need to, because there's nothing that you're actually there's no type of conversation or buy-in from the customer. And so, and the problem with that is that you don't actually ever get to find out, okay, where are they really at? What's their objection here? Where, how do they feel about all these kinds of things? Stuff that you would be able to work with them on, which would over time in the course of conversation change their mind, not only making it more feasible to set the appointment right then and there, but then on the back end, right, it would help out cancellation rate because those excuses won't come back up again. But yeah, it puts you in a position where you literally it's actually kind of interesting, right? Because the whole time it sounds like and it seems like you're in control of the conversation, but in reality you're not, because at the end of it all, they're the ones that are they're making the final decision, either yes or no. And from there, there's nowhere else for you to go.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, definitely. And I think that you're how did you put it right in the beginning there? What we're trying to do is trying to maintain control of the conversation, or how did you say it in the beginning? Do you remember?
No, but
It was something like you're forcing it down the customer's throat or whatever. How do you put that?
yeah, steamrolling.
Steamrolling, yeah. And you are, but not in a tactful way. Like even with that, there's a way to do it. Like you are up until the point that you're like, hey, do you want a free quote?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
so it's like the way to do that, if you were going to do it, would be like how when I started, it was just like everything. And then it was, at least a forced choice kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it, but at least then you're getting the customers that don't want to put up with you. In this script, you're asking the customer a yes or no question multiple times. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. You're essentially playing defense from the second you open your mouth.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's not a comfortable situation for sure. Now, to contrast that with our scripting and what the point is of our scripting and what we like to do, so it's funny, I've gone through an evolution with this myself. So whenever I was gone from Philadelphia, let's put it that way, without going into all the details and whatnot, whenever I was gone from there, we had a version of the script that we have now. And I always thought when I was handed the script, Andrew, like something like this, where the first script, let's put it this way, the first script I was ever handed where you were asking questions throughout the script, I was like, this is trash. This is BS. We're begging the customer to say no. Why would we want the customer to say no? I was pissed. It was one of the biggest reasons why things did not work out. Then whenever I restarted, they gave me a couple months to really think about and work with people every day too on the road that were focusing on using this scripting. And so it really gave me the opportunity to be able to see it in action and to see that, no, when you're doing this script and you're asking the customer to say no throughout the script, may I make a suggestion? Does that sound helpful? Even in the window problems, whatever. When you're asking the customer in a tactful way, a way that you control, okay, when you're asking them these questions, it makes it easier for you to control the conversation. And so you are, in a way, steamrolling the customer, but in a tactful way. You're allowing them to communicate with you, and they're able to express their wants and desires, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah, the individual that asks the questions, they're the people that control the conversation.
And that's where it works. I always explain to people through that, sports debate exercise, whatever that, the person that wins the conversation. I mean, if you go watch the debates on KTTH, it's called, I believe. Let me make sure that that's right. There's some debates that are great. Yeah. Okay. So, and their politics is a religious freedom one. There's a race in America one. They are political, definitely. But it doesn't matter what side you're on. You can watch the debates. And what you have is you have a media figure against, and a couple experts that barely talk, against three experts in their field who at least know their field. Whether or not you agree with them, they understand what they're there to converse about way better than the media figure probably. They've gone through schooling, they've worked in that field, but the media figure constantly beats them. And the media figure's, Ben Shapiro, I have no problem saying that. He constantly beats them because of his ability to communicate. They've had to do it. He's had to communicate it. And so he grows this great ability to be able to move the crowd in ways that those experts can't move the crowd. And so whether you agree with them or not, you watch it and you're like, oh man, that's a good point. And you could hear somebody say something completely, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But the way that they don't drive it home really impacts the way that they communicate. So our scripting through the questions allows for customers to participate, but all of the questions we control, all of the answers we know and understand, right? So that's the benefit of the scripting the way that it is. So when I ask Andrew, hey, may I make a suggestion? I know he's going to say not interested or can't afford it or some variation of that. He's probably going to say, sure, make your suggestion, but X, Y, and Z. And so because I know that, I hold the power, right? There's a power dynamic there. So Andrew, may I make a suggestion?
Yeah, I guess, dude, but right now it's just, I don't really have the funds to be doing the windows.
Oh, no doubt, sir. All I would do is have somebody come out just to check the windows out to see if you even need new windows. And if we can't be a service to you, then we'll just recommend someone else who can. But if we can help you, then we'll share our windows, how they're installed, and leave you with a free price quote for when you're ready. Now, I'm sure that at least sounds helpful to you. Okay. So before we get into the next rebuttal there, I didn't rebuttal anybody. Just, oh yeah, no doubt, sir. That's all I said. You know what I'm saying? And whatever fits your personality, you might not say no doubt. You might say, I understand, or absolutely, sir, or something like that. Either way, the point is the same, that you're waving it off. Oh yeah, of course, sir. And then you're diving into, all I would do is I just have somebody come out just to check the windows out for you. And then you work it back up through the appointment, to go over your options, answer your questions, leave you with a quote, so on and so forth, right? So you're going through that stuff there. Now, does that sound like it might be helpful to you, Andrew? Now, what we see here, by the way, too, is the objection might change. It probably will change, but there'll still be an objection there. The person is not quelled yet. There'll still be an objection there, but it will probably adapt slightly. Whether that means just, it's a better explanation of why this person is not prepared to do this. Like, I don't have the money right now, or it's something specific. Like I just did my roof over, something like that. So does that at least sound helpful, Mr. Jones?
It would, except for the fact, dude, that we already did all of our stuff for this year. We just, we did the kitchen and everything like that, and that was a huge expense. So probably not this year.
Yeah, no, kitchens, especially right now, have got to be real expensive. But I'm sure that it looks beautiful, sir. And I'm sure that you picked out the right color scheme. I'm sure you planned that out for a while, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, why else would you get it done right now unless you were planning it out, right? So, that being said, sir, the goal of the visit is just to go over your options, answer your questions, and leave you with a quote that's good for a full year. So then you have a planning tool for down the line, even for whenever you already at least have the information set aside. Now, just need a little bit of information from you. I have your last name here is Jones. What's your first? So there, although I have a terrible stuttering habit sometimes, lots of years of ecstasy is what I equated to. So good times. Either way, probably going to lead to an early death too, but it is what it is. So Overton window cross again. So the point is that whenever I'm answering back, and I tried purposely, because in situations like that, I might say something like, sir, this is a planning tool or whatever, but I purposely didn't do that just to show, like, you really don't have to change anything. The only thing I really added to that was, oh yeah, no doubt, you definitely want to plan stuff like that out. And then I said, the quote's good for a year, so whether or not you decide to do it, at least you know whether or not to give us a call back whenever you're ready, right? So that's it. There was no rebuttal there or whatever. The script works as a rebuttal in that way. What are your thoughts, Andrew? Not about the X, but everything else.
Yeah, no, I figured. No, for sure, man. I think that in that case, man, and I think this is kind of what to piggyback what we were talking about before with just training in office and everything like that. Having certain the study guide for like specific sections of the script, like the goal of the visit is, something that, like, for example, you'll say exactly what the goal of the visit is, right? You'll say it exactly the way that it's written, except for the fact that maybe you add, a couple things in there to personalize it to that person, right? So that way you can use it as a rebuttal. It makes sense to that person. They understand what you're talking about. And it also shows that, look, I'm listening to what you're saying. I hear where you're coming from. And this is why I think, and I'm about to give you my perspective on it, right? This is why I think this is still the most beneficial for you, even though you think you're in the position that you're in, blah, blah, blah. No, this is why it works. This is why it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing you said there was that it shows that you're listening. You know what I'm saying? It shows that you're listening to the customer, and that's really what they want. If you come at it the same exact way, but you don't show that you're listening, or if you give some mindless rebuttal, and look, I'm all about mindless rebuttals in a lot of circumstances. They're essential. It's essential to be able to just say to somebody well, what, God, even at this point, I haven't even used rebuttals in a long time. Oh, I'm not interested right now. Well, of course, I didn't expect to catch you on the day that you're ready to replace your windows. It's important to be able to say that. However, it's gonna help you earn appointments. It's not gonna earn you the appointment. You have to be able to connect and understand the customer as well. You can't just say mindless rebuttals and have no idea how to communicate with people in order to do well. What do you think?
No, 100%. Absolutely.
Excellent. So, look, I don't want to put a ton more in this video. We're approaching an hour now at this point. But over the stuff that we went over, just to kind of recap, and then Andrew, I'm going to get your anything you want to add. We have these training / meeting groups starting where we're going to be going over stuff. We'll start off with 3 people, and it's again Tony, Corey, and Seth. I would highly advise that you join that so you can ask questions. If not, if you can't, then watch it after. We'll release whatever time it is, but it's going to be next week. In addition to that, we got paintball going on next week. We're going to be making a lot of little changes. We're going to make core values, a mission statement, and then we're going to hire and fire based on that. We went over referrals and how important referrals are and will be to us. And then we went over some scripting and why our script works, and why it's important to make sure that we're using our script versus any other kind of scripting that could exist out there. So Andrew, what do you have to add to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I guess really the only thing to add is just like get involved. It's not a secret why you can watch a couple people do the same job and why somebody does better and outperforms somebody else, right? That there's always similarities, and the similarities are, clear and defined goals, what they want, where they want to go. The other thing is like being involved, right? Having a want to, be involved with training, to know your numbers, right? Like that want to do that. And maybe you're in a position right now that like, yeah, well, I don't really, it's not the first thing that comes to my mind. Fake it till you make it, man. Start putting that effort in to get to know your numbers, to, put yourself in there to, maybe help out with training or pitching down at the doors, whatever the case may be. Just get involved in some way, shape, and form, and set those clear and defined goals for yourselves. And you're going to see, man, it turns into this entire like passionate love for what we do, dealing with customers, building these relationships, controlling those conversations, all those things. And it becomes competitive. It becomes fun. It's enjoyable. It's great. And not to mention the benefit of, the more you make, that will not be, understated. So yeah, just get involved.
Excellent. And make passionate love. Got it. All right. Thank you guys.